Between the age of 18 and 20, I had attended a conscious and constant union with the divine presence, and I had done it all alone with absolutely nobody to help me, not even books, you understand. When I found one that came to my hands a little later, Vivekananda's Rajayoga, it seemed to me so wonderful a thing, you see, that someone could explain something to me. This made me gain in a few months what would have perhaps taken me years to do. I met a man, I was perhaps 21, then I think either 20 or 21. I met a man who was an Indian who came from here, and he spoke to me about the Gita. There was a translation which, by the way, was quite bad, and he advised me to read it and gave me the key, his key. It was his key. He told me, read the Gita, this translation of the Gita, which is not up to much, but still that there is the only one in French, and at that time I wouldn't have been able to understand anything in any other language. Besides, the English translations were as bad as, and I did not have Sri Aurobindo had not yet written his. He said, read the Gita and take Krishna as the symbol of the immanent God, the inner Godhead. This was all that he told me. He said to me, read it with that the knowledge that Krishna represents the immanent God in the Gita, the God who is within you. Well, in 1 month, the whole work was done. I knew this a very long time ago. 50 years ago, there was that occultist who later gave me the lessons in occultism for 2 years. His wife was a wonderful clairvoyant and had an absolutely remarkable capacity precisely of transmitting forces. They lived in Lemsen. I was in Paris. I used to correspond with them. I had not yet met them at all, and then one day she sent me in a letter petals of the pomegranate flower, divine love. At that time I had not given the following meaning to the flower. She sent me petals of pomegranate flowers, telling me that these petals were bringing me her protection and force. Now at that time I used to wear my watch on a chain. Wristwatches were not known then, or there were very few, and there was also a small 18th century magnifying glass. It was quite small, as large as this gesture, and it had two lenses, you see. All reading glasses, there were two lenses mounted on a small golden frame, and it was hanging from my chain. Now between the two glasses I put these bottles, and I used to carry this about with me always because I wanted to keep it with me. You see, I trusted this lady and knew she had power. I wanted to keep this with me, and I always felt a kind of energy. I did not think about it, you see, but I felt it like that. And then one day suddenly I felt quite depleted, as though a support that was there had gone. Something very unpleasant. I said, it is strange. What has happened? Nothing really unpleasant has happened to me. Why do I feel like this? So empty, inquired, so empty, emptied of energy. And in the evening, when I took up my watch and chain, I noticed that one of the small classes had come off and all the petals were gone. There was not one petal left. Then I really knew that they carried a considerable charge of power, for I had felt the difference. Then I really knew that they carried a considerable charge of power, for I had felt the difference without even knowing the reason. I did not know the reason, and yet he had make a considerable difference. So it was after this that I saw him. One could use flowers by charging them with forces. See, I didn't know the reason, and yet it had made a considerable difference. So it was after this that I saw how one could use flowers by charging them with forces that are extremely receptive. Thank you, Jay Srima.